I'm Janelle Nanos, business reporter with the Boston Globe, and this is Bold Types, Conversations with Boston's Business Leaders. Today, I'm speaking with Emily Knight, president of the Engine. Emily, thank you so much for having us come in here to the Engine, which specializes in tough tech. Now, I don't know if everyone knows what tough tech is, so can you help define that just at the outset so we can understand what we're doing here?
You are solving a really tough problem, probably something with society. Think of the energy transition, drug discovery, really tough problem. Could be through robotics, it could be through biotech, it could be clean energy, climate tech. All of these things we think of as tough tech, but it's more of you're taking an approach to solving one of the world's biggest challenges with this physical engineering component, hard tech, and so there's a hardware engineering component.
So the space we're in right now is in the heart of Kendall Square. It's a massive building. The goal is essentially to help these tough tech companies through various stages of their life cycle. Talk with me a little bit about the idea for the Engine.
This was an idea born out of MIT. I think there were so many wonderful technologies being born at MIT, but those technologies weren't getting to the market to solve the problem they were intended to. My job when I was first hired was this initiative called the Engine Room. And so we were thinking, these are companies that were born in very capital-intensive, equipment-heavy labs. They're going to leave the lab as soon as they become a company and incorporate, and then they have no access. So I would walk to campus every day or walk to Harvard or call different labs and say, will you let startups use your equipment? And so we created this sort of like a Zipcar or Airbnb for equipment and lab space. And that, as I started to build resources and people who could help, I then would go to a company and say, what do you need? Or they'd say, do you think you could get me access to this? And so we created this sort of ecosystem of support resources. The physical facility was one of them. And we learned quickly, well, they don't just need office space, because you can kind of find that anywhere, and there's other co-working models. But they need lab space, they need chemistry fume hoods, they need flow cytometers, they need microscopes. So this, where we are today was sort of born out of those early needs, interviewing all of these scientists and technologists that were willing to work in a shared facility but had a different need than existed.
Hi, Bernardo. Thank you for letting us crash your lab. So you've got a robot on your team here. Can you tell us a little bit about what this tool is and how it's helping your science?
Our core technology is called K-chip. What we do is we can study combinations of bacteria to see what they do. Our technology allows us to do this at a scale that nobody else can. So we can run millions of experiments in a day.
Wow.
And this robot is making it so we can automate that entire process to do it even faster. This is a microbiology company,
right,
but the kinds of technologies that we actually have to integrate at the same time include robotics, automation, image processing, AI, electronics, all kinds of interesting technologies.
Right.
Doing that in a single building is extremely rare.
Talk to me a little bit about the facilities and some of the things we're going to see as we wander through, because I think it's so exciting, but I also think I'm not going to know what half of these things are. Can you help explain them to me?
So there's sort of 3 different sizes of what it looks like to work in the building. We knew that there were really small companies that would be early and would need a bench or a desk. And so we have what we call shared facilities. On every floor, there is a space where you can rent a bench month to month, and same with a desk. And so you could be an early company with a couple people, you have a few scientists, a few people in an office, very agile. Then as you grow, you are probably doubling down on your technical team. So we have medium suites. The lab is about double the size of the office because you're going to have a lot more people de-risking that technology, hitting those milestones, light on the office. And then as you're growing, sort of the next phase, we have large labs and large facilities, because at this point, you probably have a pretty big technical team. And now, as your team grows, you've added HR and marketing and all of those soft pieces. And what we wanted was for an early team to be able to move into the building at 1, 2 people and grow all the way up to maybe a 50 to 80 person company without having to sign a long-term lease, without having to put their own capital that they need for their technology into the building, and to have an agile, flexible arrangement.
Let's talk about your path to the engine, because you started out in the hospitality school at Cornell. So how does one start at, a hotel school and end up working on like nuclear fusion?
I'm not working on nuclear fusion, but I want to support the people who can do that better than anyone in the world. I really think about aggregating resources, solving problems, and creating a really nice pathway, and that's what we do here.
So this is the 4th floor cafe. This is a really important part of the building. The technical labs are very important, but the community is another reason why we absolutely needed to do this. During COVID, we saw that people did not stop using the labs and they kept coming in. And so having not just a lab space, but a community where you could find like-minded people doing really hard things, first of a kind, and connect with them. So obviously a really fun way to do that is where we all sit and eat lunch, and that's what this is.
To that end, you got some major funding just recently from the National Science Foundation, $9.5 million to support 10 ecosystems around the country. Tell me a little bit more about what that's going to look like.
NSF, and through the CHIPS and Science Act, is funding a ton of work in building ecosystems around what we would call tough tech verticals. So climate resiliency, semiconductors, textile, circular economy. These are different regions across the country who are looking to create centers of excellence. And so what we will do, it's called the Builder Platform by the Engine Accelerator. We will be supporting the work that they are doing on the ground. So each of them has a unique value proposition, whether they have industry there or they have the research, and helping them think about what it means to build out an ecosystem.
One of the things I found really interesting about the way that the engine defines tough tech is that it actually uses the UN Sustainability Development Goals as a model. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about knowing that as part of your mission here and how that helps inform the work you do.
Yeah, I think if we think of tough tech founders as solving the world's biggest challenges, the UN has laid out with the SDGs what those challenges are. So anyone right now who is either doing research in a lab or thinking about commercializing or who has started a company to solve one of those problems with technology, that's what tough tech is. And that is the mission, is to take these technologies, this novel approach to solving the world's hardest challenge. That's what we're here for. We've created this home for tough tech founders. We are thinking about all of the resources to accelerate that journey so that they can make a huge societal impact with their technology.